Hey everyone,
Hello.
we'll just give folks a minute or two to join, but thank you for joining us today. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and kick off. I understand that most of us are likely freemium users with Katana right now. You're likely coming with a problem to solve, and you want to learn where to get started with Katana. So my name's Andrew, and I head the implementation team here at Katana, and I have Ash, who's on our team as well, and she'll be running. I'm more of an MC for this session. But yeah, let's go ahead and we'll hop in. I'm going to start the screen share here. And if you have any questions, please post it in the Q&A. We're going to save those until the end. Um, and we'll keep an eye on this chat as we go through. I'll be moderating the questions and Ash will have answers for you. So I'll go ahead and I'll start screen sharing. So the title of our webinar is Getting Started with Katana, and basically walking through the basic setup steps that you'll need to take to go live. And we'll help you start making, tracking, and fulfilling with ease. So just to kick us off, we're your hosts. And quick poll here. So we want to understand what best describes the current state you're at in Katana. So I'm going to launch this and go ahead and type in your answers. And while we take some time and collect these, we're going to proceed. So I'll hand it over to Ash here.
Thank you, Andy. Hello, everybody. I hope you've had a great week so far, but let's get started with the first question. Why Katana? The idea behind Katana is that it acts as the operational hub for your products, the place where your inventory, your purchasing, and production all come in together and stay in sync with the other tools that you use today. Instead of trying to be an all-in-one ERP that replaces everything that you currently use, Katana follows a best-of-breed approach. This means that you can keep using your platforms such as Shopify, WooCommerce, Amazon, or tools such as QuickBooks and Xero for accounting, and Katana sits right in the middle for your real-time source of truth for inventory and order management. Orders flow in, stock levels flow out, and everything stays aligned automatically. And the benefit of this is pretty simple. You get reliable real-time inventory and visibility into what you have, what is committed, what needs to be purchased, what is currently in production without relying on spreadsheets or systems that can't keep up with your operations. Katana also gives you a much clearer picture of your true costs. As you receive materials, manufacture products, or update your recipes and operations, your COGS, inventory insights, and margins just adjust automatically. And you're working with real numbers instead of estimates from your spreadsheets. And if your team is growing, Katana is built to grow with you. You can add as many users as you need and align and assign permissions based on their roles so everyone has access to exactly what they need to do their part efficiently. All
Awesome.
right.
Before we get into a live demo, I just wanted to take a moment and understand what we're hoping to get out of this session, and this will help us inform future sessions. So your input's definitely appreciated here. Um, just a moment, popping open the poll. And I'll keep this open and I'll hand it back to Ash.
Perfect. I will go ahead and start my screen share. But what we are going to do here today is I'll give you a brief overview of all the different screens. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of things, how to create items, products, bill of materials, add operations. All the fun stuff is right around the corner. So let's get started and just let me know if you have visibility to my Katana screen. Perfect. I get a thumbs up. Let's get started. All right. So first things first, we have our sell page where all your sales orders exists. And here we have an opportunity to create quotes, sales orders, manage your returns, create price lists, and access your customers. And in the sell page itself, we have two tabs. One is an open tab where you have your sales orders that haven't been fulfilled out yet. And then there's a done tab, which has all the historical sales orders that you've processed in the past. Next up is our make page where all your manufacturing needs exist. Here again, same concept. We have an open tab and a done tab. Open would have all your work orders that you have created but not completed or maybe partially completed. And then again, done is where all your historical completed orders exist for historical references. Following the trend, going over to the buy page, again, we have an option for purchasing. We have an option for outsourcing. Now, outsourcing is something that people might need when they have contract manufacturers where they outsource their manufacturing needs. And then you have an access to your supplier list as well. Following the concept, we have an open page where you have your POs created but haven't, received them or partially received them. And then there's a done page where you have all of your completed POs that live there forever for your historical needs. Then we have our stocks page. This is a beast of a page, an amazing screen, which we will talk about in depth in a little bit. But there's lots of information up here about your products, about your materials. What do you have? What's coming in? What's going out? And we will talk about in depth and what these column definitions mean, depending upon whether it's a product, whether it's a material. Then we have our plan page. And the planning and forecasting is basically, it helps you see what demand is coming in, what you'll run out of, and what you want to make or buy next based on your real usage and sales history. So it, takes into account your purchasing and inventory and, manufacturing and selling needs, and then gives you the forecast, and then you can replenish accordingly. Then we have our insights, and insights just gives you a quick visual snapshot of how your business is performing, your sales, your costs, your profitability. So you can spot your trends right away without having to pull in like reports manually. Then we have a very important page called the items page. Here we have 3 types of items that you can create. We have products. Products could be something that you manufacture and or sell. We have materials. Materials could be something that are needed to, make those finished goods, or spare parts as well that you sell to your customers. And finally, we have services, which are essentially a non-inventory item that you might want to add to the sales orders, such as installation fees, warranties, rush hour fees, etc. And lastly, I want to take you over to your user profile towards the very top right, where you have access to, invite your team members. As I said initially, you have an unlimited amount of team members that you can invite to Katana. You click on your team, you add a user, give their email address, give them the permissions that are applicable to their job, and they are good to go. And lastly, we have an access to settings from this page as well. This is a lot of information on the settings page here, but basically, get set up with your base currencies, get set up with your default lead times for purchases and delivery times for sales orders, set up your locations, set up your taxes. And at the bottom, we also have a section for data import that allows you to bulk change things in Katana, which again, I will come back to it and talk about what this page is about, what types of sheets are available for your use. All right, now let's go ahead. Excuse me, let's go ahead and talk about the items page. Now here, we will start with the material creation. So I'll give you a demo of how to create a material, what that means, what it looks like. So let's get started. Depending upon the screen you're in, and it is a very common trend in Katana, wherever you come in, there is a blue box that tells you to make new things. And then you go in there and then you make those things. So let's go ahead and start by creating a material. Here, it's pretty straightforward. You give it a name. Once you give it a name, you have the usability options for materials. Now, by default, materials are something that you can purchase from your vendors, but you additionally also have an option to sell them. As I previously mentioned, maybe these materials are, yes, used in your manufacturing needs. Maybe it's a packaging material, but maybe it's also something that is a spare part that your customers might want to buy from you at a later on time. Enabling the sell option allows you to set a sales price and allows you to add this to the sales orders going forward. Then we have the categories. And think of categories as labels for sorting. And then this could be something like a packaging, a finished good, a raw material. And here we'll just give a category. It's a demo product for a webinar. Then finally, we have the unit of measure. Now, unit of measure for a material specifically is something like, how do you use it when you're building materials or when you're building products? In the manufacturing needs, do you use it as an individual unit, as an individual piece? By weight, by length? What is that unit of measure? You can set this up here. If nothing exists, you can also create your custom unit of measures as well. I'll keep this for pieces for now. Um, and then lastly, on this page, you also have an option to set variants. Now, for example, your material could come in various different sizes, variant different colors. If the above general information applies to it, then go ahead and group things together for a better view. So to do that, you check this box on. Let's say this comes in a different color. I will type in the color as a variant option, and then we would give what color options do we offer in that material. So let's go with simple red and blue. Once you do that, you hit generate variants. This gives you a list, a table, which allows you to set unique SKU codes, which are kind of like unique codes to identify your individual products and materials in your inventory. So you can keep them unique based off of your configuration. You can have their own stock information. You can set their own sales prices. And once you do so, final step to configure a material is the supply details. This is where you would give your supplier information for this particular material. Let's start with the supplier that I have. You set their currency. If you purchase materials from overseas, you can set what currency you operate in. And then at the bottom, you have an option to set default purchase prices based off of the unit of measure, your minimum order quantities, and lead times. So if your materials take a day versus 2 days versus 30 days, you can set the lead time specifically for those materials, even down to the variants. So you always know when that particular material or product is coming into your inventory. And the one fun thing that I always like to demo is when purchasing from your vendors or suppliers, you always don't usually buy in the same unit that you kind of consume them or use them. Maybe that's a wholesale supplier and then they give you materials in bulk. If that is the case, Katana does allow you to set a purchasing unit. Just simply check this option on, tell Katana what that purchasing unit is. For example, I buy this in a box, and then I give Katana the conversion rate that one box contains 100 individual pieces. But once you do so, once you set a purchasing unit, just know that your default purchase prices and MOQs will respect that purchasing unit because it's a purchasing metric. And that's how you create a material. Now let's quickly jump over to our products page, and I'll show you how the products are made. I'll just pick up an option that I've already created before because it's very similar to how we create a product. You give it a name, you give it a category, and again, you give it a unit of measure. For products, it's also a very similar concept. How do you manufacture it or how do you sell it at the end of the day? Again, is it by individual units, cases, weight, length? What is that unit? You can set that up here. And in terms of usability, we have a little bit more usability for products as compared to materials. You have an option to sell or not. And you'll ask me, Ash, why wouldn't I sell my product? Well, in this example, maybe you are a manufacturing business where you make something out of the materials that you have, but that something is not your finished good. That something maybe is used in the next level of assembly, which is why maybe you don't sell it. You just probably only make it. So that is the case that you can use the usability options accordingly. You also have an option to buy your products in case you're a reseller or in case you are outsourcing and then supply your materials to your contract manufacturer. And then at the end of the day, you buy it for a particular fee that they charge. Might want to turn on the buy option for that. And then we have a make option, which allows you to actually put in the bill of materials for manufacturing needs and production operations that are needed, which are the steps that you take to make that finished good. Finally, we have a kit and bundle, and I will talk about kit and bundle a little bit more, but in brief, in Katana's definition, a kit and bundle is a product that contains other products that have already been manufactured, and all you need to do is assemble it before you deliver it out to the end customer. As an example, consider yourself, maybe you are a beverage company and you have 4 different flavors of beverages that you make. You have individual products for those 4 different flavors, but then again, you have a mixer pack that contains 1 or 2 of each of those flavors. That could be a potential kit and bundle product. You mark it as a kit and bundle, you enter what quantities and what flavors of those manufactured products go in it. And when the time comes to sell that kit, you won't be asked to make a manufacturing order. It auto assembles it for you on the back end, and you can fulfill it with ease. All right. On the product page, similar to our materials, you can also create variants in a similar fashion. What I have done is I have created a size variant that my product comes in a 250 and 500 ml variants, and then I have unique SKUs that I've added for those products as well. You can set up unique sales prices, which I have done here, and then you will see that there are columns for ingredients costs and operations costs, which you will see in a second how they come into play. And talking about ingredients costs and operations costs, let's jump into it. Now, this is technically a product that I manufacture, so I could technically also turn off the buy option. Turning off the buy option takes off the sell functionality altogether. Let's go ahead and now build its bill of material. A bill of material or product recipe contains what physically goes into the making of this product based on per unit of the product that you've set in the general information. So what do I need to make a 250 variant of this product? I will come in here and start adding materials that actually are needed to make it. You can search here by SKU, by the name of the material, but here I will add my 250 ml variant of the material to this product because that's what I need, and then I specify my quantity. Once you've done that, you can also flip between the variants that you are working on. If I want to work on the second variant, I would click and choose that variant, and I would similarly add the recipe to my second variant as well, and then specify the quantity. Now, you saw I only added one. You do have options to add however many ingredients go into the making of this product. And once you are done with the BOM build, Katana gives you a couple of different options to kind of make it easier for you to play around with your recipes. You do have an option to copy your recipes between the variants. You do also have an option to copy these recipes or bill of materials from other products that you have already created in Katana. After you've done that, you can see that the total costs have started showing up at the bottom. If I flip back over to the general information, you will see that the ingredient costs have now started to update as well. Next up, we have the production operations. Now, think of production operations as the steps that are taken to do the manufacturing, in addition to the actual physical materials that you used. Operation would be the name of the step. Could be cutting, could be assembly, could be painting, could be sanding, could be anything that you do in your business. Once you assign the operation, then the next step is to assign the resource. And resource is who or what does this task. What do you mean by what? So let's say a human is a person who is doing the painting job. That would be the resource for that human. But maybe you have an assembly line where it automatically does the painting of that product for you, and there is no human involvement. The resource could also be that machine. So depending upon who or what does that work, it could be a human or a machine. Once you've given it a resource, then you give it a cost parameter, an hour, that how much it costs me an hour for that resource. With humans, people usually give their hourly wages. With the machines, people sometimes put in the machine runtime costs per hour. Sometimes it's a combination as well. Like, what if a human is operating a machine? We need to consider both. You can do that. You can account for the cost parameter, which is a combination of both of those. And then again, you give it a time parameter, that how long does it actually even take to do the painting part. Costs me $100 an hour, but how long does it take to actually finish the task? Maybe it's 10 minutes. And then it determines the cost for you guys. Now, it is very kind of scalable in terms of variance. You know, maybe the painting time for a smaller size may not be applicable to the one that is of a larger size. So you have an option to choose the variations on which this resource applies. Maybe this one only applies for the 250 ml variant. And then what I can do is I can add another row, call it the same, call it painting. Maybe the cost parameters per hour are the same in this example. However, maybe it takes 15 minutes instead of 10 to paint the 500 ml variant. And that's how you get your operations costs. You can, again, add as many as you want. You can also copy operations from different products that you've already made operations for, making it easy for you to build operations for different things. And lastly, if I were to be in a business where I do buy and also manufacture, maybe again, I'm an outsourcer, maybe sometimes people have the priority to manufacture their goods, but given the demand and supply issues, they might have to purchase them in certain situations. So you can turn on the buy option, go into the supply details, and the supply details for products is exactly the same as what we saw for material. So you can set up your supplier information and everything else that comes along with it. And that's how you set up your products. And finally, before we jump into the next section, I also wanted to quickly show you how we create a kit. I have a kit product created for you guys. The usability that I turned on was that I sell my kit and I make it. Why did I turn on the make even if I don't manufacture it? Because make allows me to enter the recipe for that particular kit. So keeping the make on allows me to enable the kit. And inside of that kit product, I specified that I have a demo product of 1 unit of 250 ml and another variant of 500 ml as a product with a quantity of 1. And now these two products are individual things that I manufacture, but they are a combination of a kit product. And how does that matter? We'll talk about it in a second. All right. So this is the general overview of how you create your items in Katana. However, you might ask me that this is all fun and games. This is even easy to understand, but this is not scalable if you have hundreds and thousands of items that you're working with. Don't worry about it. We have an option to import data with the help of spreadsheets. So if you go ahead to your settings, go down to the data import, we have lots of files, lots of templates for you that you can use to make your job even faster. Now, if you want to add something that doesn't exist in Katana, we have these first 4 sheets that you can use. This is used to add new products. This is used to add new materials. What you need to simply do is download this template. It comes with some example information. It's super easy to understand once you know how to build an item in Katana. The column names are exactly the same fields as you saw in our demo right now. You enter your file, you save your file, and then you upload right next to your download option. Similarly, it works the same for materials. You can even add your bill of materials and operations using these sheets. Now, let's assume that your initial data is good. You've been using Katana for a while, but down the line, things have changed and you want to make updates to your products. Maybe it's the naming, maybe it's the SKUs, maybe it's the pricing, maybe it's the vendor-related data. We have spreadsheets for those as well. So down below, we have a couple more that are called update existing products and update existing materials. These files actually will download the data that you have in Katana. You download those files, make those updates, save the file, and upload again right next to download. The only thing that you might want to keep in mind when working with these sheets is make sure that you don't add or remove basically any of the columns. Make sure that the structure is the same so that Katana knows that this is the format that I accept, and then you're good to go. All right. The other option is, let's say you are using an e-commerce platform and you don't even want to add products using a spreadsheet or manually because that's double, triple work. Fret not. We do have an option to connect your integrations and import your product catalog from your e-commerce websites. This puzzle icon is where all of our integrations exist. You can come in here, you can scroll through it, you can search by name, you can filter with the different categories that we have on the left-hand side. But essentially, once you connect your e-commerce platforms, there is an option for you to import your products from that e-commerce platform to Katana so that at least you have that with the click of a button. And then you can use the sheets to bring in your materials, or you can create them one by one, depending upon how extensive your materials are. All right, now that we have everything created, in theory, we have our materials, we have our products, we have our BOM configured, we have our operations done. The next thing is to kind of look at the bigger picture of things. Let's go over to our stocks page and talk a little bit more about what that page means and how that can help you speed up your process, look at things in a way that spreadsheets might not be helpful so far. So let's go ahead, jump over to the stocks page. And as you can see here, we have, everything in a consolidated list, but you can also drill down to products and materials. We don't have services here, again, because services are non-inventory items. You don't need to manage stock for them. So you don't really need to have a stock information for those items. But let's talk about what these column definitions even mean. Now, it has a similar type of information that you saw on the items page. There's a name, there's a SKU, there's a category. All of that fun stuff does exist, but there is also a lot of stock-related columns towards the right-hand side. Now, what are they? What do they mean? Let's talk about it. So in stock, numbers are essentially pretty straightforward. What you physically have of that item in stock in your stores. Pretty straightforward. Expected. Now, let's specifically talk about the materials here. What is an expected number? Let's say this is a material that you purchased from your vendor. You've created a purchase order for it for a certain quantity, but you have not received it yet. That's where you will see an expected number, meaning this quantity is coming into your Katana inventory at some point, but it's not here yet. Once you do receive that PO, that expected number then gets converted into the in-stock numbers. Similarly, the commitments are something that are leaving Katana but haven't left yet. And for materials, for example, if those are the things that you use in manufacturing, you create a manufacturing order and they're being used and eventually will be converted into your finished goods. If you created an MO that hasn't been processed or completed yet, then you would see those as committed numbers, meaning that, once the MO is complete, the manufacturing order is complete, your committed will go down because they're out of the system, and then they will leave your in-stock numbers as well. Let's talk about the products before we jump into the last two column definitions. Now, expected for products is different from expected with materials. If you are a reselling business, it is the same concept. You've created a PO, haven't received it yet, that's an expected number. But if you are a manufacturing business, your new product quantity is coming on from completing those manufacturing orders. So if you create a manufacturing order for this product, but you haven't completed that would be an expected number. Once you complete it, it's going to get converted into the in-stock numbers. And for commitments, for the finished goods that you sell, they could be committed on sales orders because that's how your inventory, leaves Katana. And then similarly, if it is a product that is a sub-assembly product, then it could be committed into a manufacturing order as well. And lastly, as you can see, there's another column that you see down below. It is called the potential column. Now, the potential column is only visible for the kit and bundle products because what it's telling me that, hey, this is a kit. And with the ingredients that are in the kit, how many potential final units of this particular kit that I can make, depending upon the quantity of its ingredients. Now, my kit uses both of these first two products in one quantity each. I have 10 units of each of these, which is why I can make 10 units of this kit potentially. If I had 9 of these, one of them was at 9 in quantity, then I would be able to make 9. So it tells you the maximum number of potential kits that I can make using its ingredients. And finally, we have the stock level of the safety stock that allows you to set a kind of a reorder point that, I don't ever want to go below this unit particularly. If you set that up, Katana knows it and contributes to tell you that whenever it goes below that stock, you're in danger. It's time to replenish it. And lastly, we have the calculated stock. And calculated stock is a math that comes in from all the different columns that we discussed. So it is a number which is in stock numbers plus expected, because that's coming in, minus committed, because that will leave eventually, minus safety stock, because that is a number that we don't want to go below, equals the calculated stock. For example, here I have 10 pieces in stock, nothing is expected, nothing is committed. The calculated stock becomes 10. However, if I set my safety stock to 10, because I don't ever want to go below it, my calculated stock then becomes 0. And it tells me that's time to replenish it. All right. There is also another aspect of the stock screen that I want to actually discuss with you before we go on to something else. This screen doesn't just tell you what you have, what's coming in, what's going out. It can also help you replenish those things that are running out. Now, for instance, you could go to the buy page, create a new purchase order, start adding items to it, and then receive it. However, you're already looking at the stock information. You have a clear picture, especially based off of the calculated stock, that you can even sort what you need to buy. Why not do it from right here? That's exactly the point of the screen. So our POs are generated one PO per supplier. You can have multiple items underneath it. So I always suggest that go into the default supplier tab, search for that supplier that you want to buy items from. You'll get a whole list. And depending upon your calculated stock, you have a clear picture of what you have in stock versus what you don't have in stock. Once you're happy with that, you make your selections by checking these boxes on the left-hand side. And up top is when you get the option to buy. Once you click on buy, it will, ask you that, okay, this is a new purchase order. The supplier is called demo supplier because that's the name of the supplier I had added for my materials. And this is the purchase order number. Once you're happy with it, you can either create and open it or create and close. Create and close just makes you stay on this page, and open takes you to that actual PO. Once I go to that actual PO, you will now see that all the information is already on here. We are in the buy page. We have both of these pieces that we wanted to order. They're already in here. You can come and change the stock of this to however many you want to order. If you have minimum order quantity set, they will take precedence over this. But yeah, you add additional costs that allows you to add your shipping, your customs, your tariffs. And once you're happy with it, when the date has arrived, you simply go ahead and either receive partially or receive fully. If you receive partially, it is very simple. You will tell Katana how many pieces you are about to receive out of the total. You select received. Katana is very color coded, and on an overview, you can see that, okay, this is a partially received PO. If I get into the main screen of the POs, you can see the delivery status is also in your face telling you that this is partially received. And the other option is obviously you can also access it from up here and you receive everything. Once you receive everything, your purchase order leaves your open tab and then it goes over to your done page. Simple, straightforward. The same can be done with manufacturing as well. If you are a manufacturing business and you want to see for your products, how many do you have and how many do you need? You can simply come in here, check these boxes that apply. You click on the make option, and then you get a table of the manufacturing orders that it will be making for you. You can set for which product you want to make a manufacturing order. You can also set the quantities here that, okay, I want to make 20 units of the first one and 50 units of the second one. And once you do that, you can go ahead and create your manufacturing orders. Now, our manufacturing orders allow you to create one manufacturing order per product. So here we have it. We have a manufacturing order. You saw that I already had received my ingredients that need to make this. And that just shows you that, do you have enough ingredients to even make this manufacturing order that you have here? Once you open the MO, it gives you the details of what it's making, what are its ingredients, what are its operations costs, and then they multiply depending upon the quantity that you're making. Super straightforward, very easy to follow. And then the availability tab is a very good indication of whether you even have enough materials to make this product. If you don't, you will see that as a tag as it's not available. For example, if I up it to, let's say, a crazy quantity, I know I definitely do not have that amount of quantity to make this manufacturing order, then the availability will tell you that it's not available. If you want more details, you can even click into these availability options and check what you have. I have 100 units in stock and I have 5,000 committed because I need those 5,000 to complete this manufacturing order. So it's a very clear indication that you might want to purchase it. And you can even initiate the purchasing options from right here as well. It will start to create a PO for you because you need it to make this MO. And that's how you kind of complete your manufacturing orders. And then again, if you have everything available, everything is good to go, you can go ahead and either partially complete it, fully complete it. You can even mark them as blocked or work in progress to have a better visibility on where it stands. But once it's done, you click done, and now you will have 20 units of this particular product available in your inventory, available to be sold to your customers, which is what brings me to this page. This is where your sales orders exists. You create a sales order. Now you have the quantity to fulfill it, and you can simply go ahead and do that. If you are using an e-commerce platform, your orders are coming directly from Shopify or from WooCommerce. They will sit in the open tab until they're fulfilled. And once they are fulfilled, they will go over to the done tab. And this is where I would stop my demo of Katana, and we'll talk a little bit more about other things before we start getting into the question and answers.
Awesome. Thank you, Ash. So I think I'm going to hand it over again. We're going to talk about 3 quick workflows that we see typically in Katana, and that would be manufacturing, reselling, and outsourced production, and kind of the difference in setup steps for each. So I'll hand it back to you, Ash.
All right. Would you mind sharing your screen once again so we can have a look at those?
Yes, technical difficulties. Thank you. Right.
Perfect. Appreciate it, Andy. All right. So we've already seen the build and how you do your manufacturing and how you do all of that. So this is just an overview of, what your manufacturing setup path looks like. You add your materials, you add your finished goods. Once those both are added, you start building a bill of materials and recipes. You add your operations, which are optional. People do love to really add the operations though, because it keeps everything in track and like how much are we spending on these resources. And then finally, you set your stock levels and then you are good to go. So these are the five main steps that you want to consider when you are a manufacturing type of business. Coming up next, you could also be a reseller type of business where there is no manufacturing, where there is no contract manufacturing involved either. This is much simpler path than a manufacturer's path. All you need to do is you create your products, make sure that you enable your buy and sell functionalities, do not need to check the make because you do not manufacture it and you do not need the BOM and operations for it. All you do is you buy from your supplier and sell it to your customers. Then you add your supplier information, set your stock levels, and you are good to go. And finally, the third scenario could be that you are an outsourcer or you are a mixture of these different types of things. So if you are an outsourcer who uses contract manufacturing companies to do the build for you, this is what a basic setup would look like. The recommendation is to always create a location for your contractor, especially if you're providing them the ingredients that they use to make the finished good for you, so that you always have an idea of how much of the raw materials do they actually have. You would be surprised to find out that when people start using the outsourcing locations and start tracking the consumption of the ingredients, people save a ton of money because they had no idea how much they were buying for their contractors and how much they had on hand. So this has really solved real life problems with people who do contract manufacturing. Once that's done, you add your materials, pretty straightforward. You add your products, you build your bombs, you set your stocks, and then again, you're set to go. But yeah, so those were the three basic things. And before we kind of end things with the basis of Katana, I did want to kind of show you how our most popular integrations work in terms of what kind of data is exchanged between the two systems. So let's start with e-commerce and take Shopify's example. Now, the syncing between the two systems works as follows. Sales orders or orders are created on the Shopify side. They automatically come into Katana. Once the orders are ready to be fulfilled, you fulfill them or partially fulfill them on the Shopify side, and then it does the same action on the Katana side as well. But note that the fulfillment is a two-way sync. So if you want to do the tasks of fulfillment or delivery inside of Katana, you can do that and it would reflect back to Shopify as well. Lastly, the inventory levels are sent from Katana to Shopify, meaning Katana becomes your source of truth. You make more products, you buy more products, inventory levels go up on Shopify. You sell products, inventory levels go down in Katana, it updates Shopify, and subsequently Shopify inventory levels are also updated with the new number. Next up, we can also import things from Shopify. As I was talking during the demo, if you have your products in Shopify, you can import them. If there are variants in Shopify, there will be variants in Katana as well, because both systems support it. You can also bring in your initial inventory levels from Shopify over to Katana. If it is true inventory, feel free to go ahead and bring that inventory level into Katana instead of adding it inside of Katana. Lastly, you can bring in your customer list. With e-commerce or B2C customers, people sometimes want to bring their customers, people sometimes don't. This is an option that you can choose while doing the initial import. Lastly, we have just a method on how we match things. We match products with variants with their SKUs, and then customer information is matched based off of their email addresses, their physical addresses, their names, etc. This is the basic overview of the Katana plus Shopify integration. And then let's go and talk a little bit more about our e-commerce platform as well. Again, more popular one being QuickBooks. So again, few things that can be exchanged between the two systems here as well. So if you have sales orders in Katana, you have an option to invoice them and send them over to QuickBooks alongside the cost of sales or the COGS of that product. You are also able to send the operations costs that you set up. So in the setup of the product, we had the operations. Once the manufacturing order is complete, if you want to sync those labor costs and operational costs, you have an ability to do that over to QuickBooks. If you are purchasing and you want to create those purchase orders and convert them into bills, you have an option to do that. You can, either send them into an expense account or you can send that to an inventory asset account, depending upon how you do your business. Lastly, you bring in your customers and suppliers. You have an option to import them. Usually people do love to bring in their vendors, especially from their accounting softwares, because that's an accurate database for that. And customers come in handy too, because when they have customers in QuickBooks, it's usually B2B customers, and they do want that list in Katana as well. So super handy. Again, the items that we have in Katana are matched as non-inventory items in Katana. Oh, sorry, in QuickBooks, we do not send the quantities to QuickBooks softwares. We only send the dollar value against those particular items. Similarly, with the matching, customers and suppliers are matched based off of their email addresses, their names, and then lastly, we have the taxes. Now, you do have an option to map the taxes that you've built in Katana over to the taxes that are in QuickBooks. However, it's a little bit different when it comes to states and other countries. If you're in the USA, QuickBooks has an option or the ability to auto-calculate the taxes for you depending upon the region you live in or the customer where they live in. But if you are outside of the states, you can map those taxes and match the two systems together. And that is the overview of our accounting software. And to close everything out, as a whole, now we have done everything from start to finish in Katana. The bigger picture kind of works the reverse in a way. Sales orders come in, you go ahead and you check your stock levels. Do you have that in stock? Yes? No problem. You're good to go ahead and fulfill the order right up. You do not have it in stock, there's potentially 3 actions that you can take to bring that product in stock. If you are manufacturing, you create a manufacturing order and complete it. If you are a reselling business, you create your PO and then you receive it. If you do outsourcing or if you do contract manufacturing, you reach out to your contract manufacturer, create that OPO, which is called the outsourced purchasing order, and you receive it. Once you do one of those 3 tasks, you have the stock available, everything is good to go, you deliver the sales order. Once the sales order is delivered, now it is ready to be synced over to your accounting software, send your revenues and send your COGS along, and you are all synced from start to finish. Now that we have a higher picture and a higher level of understanding on Katana, I wanted to just share the options that you have to get started with the Katana journey. Some of you might already be exploring these options, and for others, it's helpful to know what do you have in your books to kind of move forward. There are 2 main options that we offer as implementation, depending upon what you need. The first one is Katana guided onboarding, which my team provides, and it's a structured, kind of cost-efficient way to get things set up, where we walk you through to Katana step by step, train you on the full platform, cover any add-ons that you might be using, and get your integrations working smoothly based on your setup, which is very similar to what we did today. However, it won't be all of Katana in one day. We have different sessions because there's so much more that I can talk about, that we missed, but I hope I did justice. But the second option for the implementation is a partner-led implementation. And we have a variety of network of vetted partners that we work with. This is like a more hands-on tailored approach for teams that need a little bit extra support for their custom workflows, for their custom integrations. Integrations, for example, that we don't connect with directly as of today. A Katana-led partner manages the setup for you, does the deeper process mapping, and designs the rollout and operations for you. So no, you're just not, set up for today, but for growth as well. And that, my friends, wraps up our walkthrough for today. With that covered, we can move over to the question and answers. If you do have questions, anything you want clarified, or a situation that you're trying to work through, please, this is a good time and send those questions through. Andy and I will, go through together as much as I can. But if we don't get to your questions today due to time or any other reasons, don't worry about it. You can always reach out to us at onboarding@katanamrp.com, and we will be happy to help you moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Ash. So we'll take a couple seconds and allow you to type some questions into chat, and we'll gather those up and start answering them. So, from one of our participants, I have a shipping platform. How do I connect it to Katana? I work with Katana and Shopify, and wondering how I might connect ShipStation.
That's a really good question. And there are different approaches that you can take with that. Now, lots of people who work with e-commerce, such as Shopify as yourself, and they have a shipping platform, you might have that shipping platform already connected to Shopify. If that's the case and you do like that flow, keep that integration as is. Orders flow from orders flow from Shopify to Katana. They also flow from Shopify to your shipping platform. Shipping platform does its thing, sends its information back over to Shopify. Shopify then again sends the fulfillment status back. Everything works in sync. However, there is also an option that you might want to connect your shipping platform to Katana. People usually want to do that if they have multiple different channels that they work with, and they want all of those channels to be connected to the shipping platform. In that case, I would recommend then you connect your shipping platform to Katana so that it can play a role with maybe Shopify, WooCommerce, Amazon, you name it. So that's how I would go about it.
Awesome. And our team can help guide through the decision on what the best structure for your integrations are too. So that's great. Okay. I have another question here, and that is, sorry, 1 second. We manufacture bicycles, so we build the bike in-house, and we have an outsourcer who paints them. Is it possible to use a combination of manufacturing and outsource purchase orders?
Yes. So how I understand it, if you are a bike manufacturer, there might be parts of that manufacturing process that you do in-house, and then there are parts of that manufacturing that you outsource. And I've seen this scenario in real life as well, and it works wonderfully. So for example, you have your raw materials, you use those raw materials to make some parts of those. And maybe some of them need, powder coating or painting or something else that is a service that you in-house don't have. You can then place an outsourced purchase order, put the fee that they charge you for that painting or whatever service they provide, send it out to them because essentially you are providing that material or that sub-assembly product that you made from your raw materials. Keep a track of that, add it as a bill of material to your final good, send it over. That way you have the costs of the materials that you're using and the costs of the service that you're paying your contractor. Once they have completed it, you mark that OPU as complete, you receive that as a finished good, and then now you have your final equipment that you can now sell to your customers. So yes, definitely. Outsourcing can work great in combination with manufacturing. It can also work great in combination with purchasing because maybe you buy something, then you receive that, and then you outsource it along with other materials, and then you buy a finished good. So either way your setup is, it is super simple to configure and it's very straightforward and it is definitely supported the way you would like it to be.
Awesome. And it looks like we have one more question here, and that is from a food manufacturer, and they're curious about tracking lot and expiry dates and if that's possible in Katana.
That's actually a great question. And that brings me to inform you about the feature that we have when you create materials and you create your products. There is an option to do product tracking. Now, if you are a food manufacturer, maybe you want batch numbers and lot numbers as that tracking field along with the expiration dates. You can certainly do that in Katana. If you have a material that expires, let's think about there's a raw garlic or something that you buy. Obviously, anything perishable has an expiration date. When you receive it, you give it a batch number or a lot number, and then you set the expiration date for that material. Now, you use that material, you use that raw ingredient to make your finished good. Let's say you make a salsa, and that salsa eventually is also perishable at the end of the day. So you also mark that finished good as a batch tracked product. And when you create that, there will be a couple of things that will happen. When you manufacture something that is a batch tracked product and that also uses a batch tracked ingredient, two things will happen. It will ask you to give the batch number of the finished good that you just manufactured, and it will also ask you to enter the batch number of the ingredients that you are using to make that finished salsa, for example. That way you have full traceability end to end in terms of what you purchased, what you made, and when you sell that final salsa, it will again ask you what is the batch number that you're selling. So in case there are recalls or something goes wrong, you have that full traceability from sales orders to purchase orders or from purchase orders to sales orders, end to end, along with having those expiration dates.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we'll give another couple seconds for any final questions, but wanted to leave everybody with an email address that they can use as well in case you have follow-up questions, whether it's about the platform, the functionality, what you should do next, or what kind of services we offer to help you get set up. And that's onboarding@katanamrp.com. It'll be in this next screen here as well, I think. 1 second. All right, and it's any questions, feel free to forward to that email address. And then I have one final poll for everybody, and that is kind of what's next for you based on this webinar or based on your journey with Katana so far. So we'll give a couple seconds to answer here, and then we'll wrap up. And thank you very much for attending. So we'll also be sending a recording of this webinar at the end here. We'll send some guides as well. And this is our quick little feedback session. So feel free to watch the recording as more questions come up. Our team's happy to answer them. And have an excellent day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.